Hello everyone, and thank you for being part of the Chelsea chapter. We're talking about the one and only Moises Caicedo from Brighton and Hove, and also Romelu Lukaku. And definitely it's going to be a big transfer update. We're going to be talking about transfers right about here at the Arsenal chapter. Hello everyone, and thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter. And please subscribe and ring that notification bell so you do not miss out on whatever I've got to bring to, as long as this post and as long as it is Chelsea related right about here at the Chelsea chapter with me, your very host, Abu KALS, as I'm actually dedicated to bring to you the latest trade as it comes in. It will be remembered that the football player Nicholas Jackson is already at the club, and also not forgetting the one and only Christopher Nkunku and other more football players who have already signed for the club. Chelsea transactions are really being done, and right about now as we speak, the club Chelsea is looking at more reinforcement in different fields, as we already have seen quite a big number of football players leaving the club Chelsea. Chelsea is trying to make sure that they can do a bit of reinforcement in this summer transfer window. In the latest we are getting, I don't know whether I should start with Moises Caicedo or Romelu Lukaku. Let's start with Lukaku. We'll remember that Lukaku has been a Chelsea football player for now 2 years, and he's been off on a loan. And by the look of things and what we've gathered in confirmation, said that Romelu Lukaku is not going to be a Chelsea football player anymore. However, it will be remembered that there are quite a number of reasons as to why he's not going to be a Chelsea football player. And one of the big reasons being that he's had links away from the club Chelsea, and Juventus coming in as the latest club that are heavily linked to the football player. We'll remember that his first opinion was remaining at Inter Milan, and the price was definitely not right. Inter Milan sort of walked away from this transfer, but still negotiations were still taking place. And after Inter Milan realizing that Romelu Lukaku's agents were privately talking to another club, and that was Juventus, they walked away out of this transfer. And also remember that what is happening and what we've gathered and confirmed from the international tour of Chelsea that is going to be happening very soon, Lukaku is not going to be part of this tour, of this international tour. And it only tells us that it proves us right that Lukaku is not going to be part of the Chelsea club, Chelsea squad come the next season. Anyway, let us really hope everything goes on quite well for him, as really he is in the market. Any club that is interested in him can really have him as long as the money is worth, because he's quite a bit expensive. And right about now, really, anyway, you will remember still that Lukaku he rejected a few clubs from signing. He refused to sign for some clubs, especially in Saudi Arabia. There were quite a big number of clubs in Saudi Arabia that were interested in Lukaku, because what is happening in Saudi Arabia right about now, when a football player gets a bit old, they're willing to give you quite a lot of money, stupid money, big money, so that you definitely go to Saudi Arabia and play football over there. And from different sources that we've been getting, it's really I don't know, oil money, Arab oil money. Anyway, quite a lot of money in there, really, loads and loads of money in there to give out to football players to develop their league. But I don't know whether the approach is really right. For some reason why I always think about the Saudi league really is if they really need to make a big league like the Premier League, like the Bundesliga, like Serie A, really what they need to do is to make sure they've got young players. Really, you cannot get old players who are in their evening of playing, and you really sign them and they earn quite big money, and really think really you're doing a thing. Those football players won't be able to compete, and let it be in case there is Champions League football, let's say. no chance. There would be no chance. I think maybe if they're trying to pull out some popularity, but if Saudi Arabia is about developing their league, they need to be in a position of attracting football players who are in their prime and also still football players who are younger and also developing home talent. Maybe it's the beginning. I cannot say. I cannot really talk. I cannot say that possibly. I cannot say that their approach is really, really wrong, 100% wrong, because we do not know what's happening in there. That's my personal opinion, and I'm giving up my personal opinion when it comes to that. But otherwise, I really think that league really needs young football players in it. That league definitely needs young football players. It needs very young football players to develop the league, really, because you can't keep on buying football players who are on the prime. They needed Lionel Messi, though he went to America, to Inter Miami. They needed Cristiano Ronaldo. He went over there, Al Nassr. Then quite a big number of Chelsea football players have already been shipped there, have been bought in Saudi Arabia. Quite big money, N'Golo Kante, Mendy, Kalidou Koulibaly. And when you see these football players who've really moved, these Chelsea football players who've really moved to the club, to Saudi Arabia, most of these football players are aging. They're getting to a point where they're definitely looking at retiring. Retirement is really knocking. So they're making quite a bit of money over there before their careers really end. But the question also is this really helping the Saudi league, or they need a different approach? Anyway, that's something to discuss another day. But right about now, we remember that Lukaku really said no to Saudi Arabian clubs. Quite a big number of them were interested in him. They wanted him to sign for them, but he was not very interested in signing for them, and it was a bit tricky. And right about now, at that moment in time, we'll remember that he was being linked to Inter Milan. There were quite heavy links for him playing for the club Inter Milan, remaining at Inter Milan. That was his preference, but Inter Milan has sort of had a step back and tried to observe what is going on after them coming to notice that Lukaku's agents really had one-on-one talks with Juventus, and Juventus is now the leading club that could definitely be taking the football player Lukaku. So let's hope that everything falls in place for him, as we definitely know that he's a very good football player. And but he didn't perform in the Premier League, really. His time in the Premier League was not the best, especially when he was at Chelsea. That's why he walked away. But when he's played for Europe, really, he plays quite well. Very good football player. But when he comes to the Premier League, I think he understands his strengths and weaknesses. That's why he doesn't want to play in the Premier League. And for some reason, I can really understand why he does not want to play in the Premier League. Anyway, having said that, let's jump into yet another football player that we are talking about today, Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo is an Ecuadorian professional football player and also plays for Brighton and Hove. Has also been linked to the club Chelsea for quite a big period of time. And right about now, what I can confirm to you is that this deal is in its final stages, and the chance of the club Chelsea signing Moises Caicedo is around 100%, I'm telling you. Anyway, might not be 100%, but possibly something like 98%. It's very, very, very close. So close. It's very close because the club Chelsea has already had talks with Brighton and Hove about the transfer. However, he's quite expensive, £100 million. But the club Arsenal also is into this. Arsenal also wants Moises Caicedo, but Arsenal have already spent quite a lot of money and they've not sold football players. Arsenal have bought Declan Rice, they've bought Urian Timber, and they've bought Kai Havertz from Chelsea, So those football players are over 200 million. FFP rules will catch them up if they really go for a football player that is worth 100 million pound. If they spend 100 million pound, that's 300 million pound. And really, they have not sold football players that are worth 300 million pound. I think they will definitely be thinking about it before they do it. But as stands right about now, Brighton and Hove has had big talks with the club. Chelsea about Moises Caicedo. However, Chelsea is trying to negotiate the amount of money really because it's big money, 100 million pound for a defensive midfielder. But he is a very good one. I cannot say he's a bad midfielder. Very good defensive midfielder, said to be the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League. How legit that is, I will leave it to you. But the question also is, should the club Chelsea pay 100 million pound for Moises Caicedo? Anyway, Moises Caicedo's deal is close, very, very close, and absolutely close. Let's hope really everything will continue moving on quite well for the club Chelsea, and they can definitely get a football player, Moises Caicedo, who is an Ecuadorian professional football player and also has been playing for Brighton and Hove. Confirmations have definitely come in from different sources about this football player joining, and earlier along, actually, who's this? Fabrizio Romano, who's a very big transfer specialist and also sports analyst, really came out and said there is nothing to panic about when it comes to the transfer of Moises Caicedo to the club Chelsea, as quite a lot is really happening. A lot is definitely happening about Moises Caicedo, but also the fact that Arsenal has been in this. Arsenal has been pushed out, and it's only two clubs that are in business, and that's Brighton and Hove, and then Chelsea. Chelsea's trying to get to final stages of this transfer, and everything is going on quite well and as planned. And we definitely most likely going to be seeing the football club Chelsea really taking on the football player. Please subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you do not miss out on whatever I've got to bring, as long as this sports and as long as it is Chelsea related, right about here at the Chelsea chapter with me, your very host, Abu KALS. I tell thank you and goodbye for now.